Hi, it's Sarah and I have another Office snippet for you today. This one's a bit more general and it's regarding Windows Explorer, or as it's called in Windows 10 operating system, it's also called File Explorer. But the purpose of it is to be able to browse all of your files really easily. You may also use an icon called My Computer. It's pretty much the same thing as that. So I'm on Windows 10, which is a newer operating system, but regardless of the operating system you're using, if you want to get to your File Explorer or Windows Explorer, the easiest thing to do is just right click where the start button is. So it's usually in the bottom left hand corner here, and I know the look will be slightly different depending on the version, but if you right click, it then gives you various options, one of which in this case is File Explorer, and in the previous operating systems you'll only have a couple of choices on here, one of which will be Windows Explorer. Now if you open it up from here, it will then appear on your screen, and what I would recommend is that then when the icon appears down here, that you just right click over it and you'll see an option to pin it to your taskbar. So by doing this, it then means that icon will be permanently available, and you can actually then drag this around. So I usually have it at the very first button here just out of habit, and then that way whenever I want to browse my documents, all I now have to do is click on this button and it will always be there to get to. Now there are various features in here and I'm not going to go into too much depth, but just to remind you that you have quick access, and that's the new equivalent of favourites in the older version. So I've done an Office snippet already on that, so do have a little look at my Office snippet about favourites and quick access. There's also an option in the older operating systems. You'll have a search over in the top right, and there's a little button, a blue button, which is to view the preview pane, and that's useful when you're browsing documents. If you're not quite sure what you want, it saves opening them all up. You can just single click on them and it will preview it over here. If you're on Windows 10, they've made it quite nice and easy actually. So what they've done is there's an actual ribbon here, which you might not realise. So if you click on this little arrow here, it expands that ribbon and you can now see all of your various options on here. So you can add new folders really easily. You've got the option to, if you wanted to pin something to your quick access, you could click on it and then use that button there. And there's on the view ribbon as well, you have preview pane in Windows 10 is over here instead, and the various ways that you can view your files. So there's lots of good stuff on here, and hopefully you will find this quite useful. The last thing I would say is if you're moving things from one folder to the other, it's really simple to just right click and use copy and paste or cut and paste to move things around when you're in here. So I hope you find that useful. Any queries, do get in touch with me on Twitter or Facebook, whatever your preferred method is, or via my website. I'm more than happy to answer any queries you may have. Thanks for listening.